Only one review after this. Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be reviewing Lateralus by Tool, their third studio album. Probably, in my opinion, their best, although it's a really close debate between the two, and I think they're both like equally good or between this and their previous album, Enema. I think they're both really good for different reasons, which is the stance that most Tool fans will take. They're both equally incredible. But this one, compared to that album, is a lot more sort of sprawling, a lot like bigger, I think, in scale. And I think the interludes show that, because rather than being these industrial or sort of comical interludes, instead they're like these super spacey, like I said, massive uh, interludes. But kicking off the album, I think, is the best example of sort of the sound, that and one other, where the Grudge, where it has this groove on it, but rather than being on like the intro to their previous album with Stinkfist, where it's really disgusting, here it sounds really visceral, I'd say. Sort of, like I said, massive, sort of like you're almost like transcending. And the secondary groove on here, I think, is equally fantastic. In fact, maybe even a little bit better. But they both serve their purposes. And the at the very end of this track, there's a really loud sort of shout after. There's like this a little bit of an instrumental flashback to the intro. The intro sort of plays again, just slightly different, and we get this scream over these really loud instrumentals going back and forth and doing all these weird polyrhythms, and it's just really great. But following that Eon Blue Apocalypse, immediately we have an interlude. This one is this one very much shows the differences between the two albums. It's basically just a guitar, like solely guitar, with some space around it and the way the mixing is done. But it's sort of like they play one note like constantly over the entire thing until the very end, which sort of acts like a bass line, and then not bass as in like a bass, but like as a like a bar for the rest of the song to build off of. And it's really short, and it just really nicely sets up the patient, where we have these polyrhythms, not polyrhythms, sorry, really weird time signatures. I believe it's it would be 10-4 or 10-8. Sorry, I just had to remember time signature. But the way it's produced makes it sound really stable in its foundation. In fact, more stable than on the interlude, even though that's pretty much in 4/4, which I think is really impressive. This song is really great too. I especially love the ending again, with its really great guitar riff over it, and these vocals of "I must keep reminding myself of this." It's just really well written. And then Mantra has these really weird, I want to say synths, but they might be guitar, like this weird guitar effect. But whenever I say, like whenever I call something synthy, because there are a lot of sounds like that on this album, I could totally mean like it's just a guitar sound that's just heavily modified to sound like that, a guitar effect. But this sort of sounds like sort of like a bunch of like extraterrestrial beings sort of communicating with each other all throughout, and there's this really like deep, um, I don't know what it is, but like these noises going all throughout, and then you have like the weird chatter that sounds super extraterrestrial because it sounds like even though they're happening at regular intervals, it sort of sounds like a speech, but not like a human speech, like I said, an alien speech. And then Schism, one of my favorites on here, um, it has this really nice bass line to it that sort of drives it. This time, meaning like a bass riff, actually, like an instrument, and that sort of holds the whole track, and then the way the guitars sort of take that rhythm and change it up a little bit really help it get some flavor. And the way it's done in 5/8 and 7/8 is really interesting to me. So that way it always feels like sort of off, but at the end it like comes back around to like 12/8, which is basically you can say that's like a 6/4 pretty much. Although the way it's divided is all weird, which makes it like I said really interesting. Um, yeah, following and the breakdown on this thing is really great too. A lot of the breakdowns on here are really excellent. After that, Parable uh, is sort of an interlude that leads into the next song, Parabola, which is another one of my favorites. But anyways, uh, Parable is a lot. It's very sort of chill, but at the same time, it has this sort of existentialism to it with Maynard's voice, sort of the vocalist, sort of like swimming above the mix, and yeah, all these sort of cymbal rolls on the drum end being really nice additions to sort of give it this cinematic feel. And if I ever said any other track transitions were the greatest ever, I take it back because the transitions between Parable and Parabola is probably the greatest, where the guitar sort of swells at the end of Parable after everything cuts out, and then we just get into the jam of Parabola, and yeah, sort of right as we get into Parabola, we get this really great guitar riff, sort of air shattering in a way, like a lot of guitar riffs on my favorite albums. It just sounds like it's like cutting through the mix and cutting through the air. Uh, and this song is one of my favorites. Like I said, I just really like everything about it, and it very much sums up this album. Like I said a little bit earlier on, I think it sums up the sort of the feel of this album of just massive existentialism and feeling like you're part of this like bigger sort of picture, and how like, especially on this song, like there's no like pain and death and all of that is just an illusion because you're just born from and return to the infinite. Ticks and Leeches is another one of my favorites. I really like the drum intro and the guitar riff on it. And Maynard sounds extremely angry on this one. Uh, I also like sort of the instrumental break it takes, where there's just guitars for a little bit and sort of like wind blowing and everything. Um, Following that, Lateralus. This is very much a fan favorite. Um, it's I'd consider it one of my favorites too. I really enjoy the riff and the way it's written to be 9/8/7, which is actually Fibonacci number. I could talk for days about the Fibonacci sequence and how it interacts with this song, but there's plenty of videos out there that discuss that in way more detail than I could. So I'll just say that it's not just the math that makes this song great. It's just genuinely like really good writing that makes sort of the math add up. You know, God, that sounds corny, but it's true. It wouldn't stand on its own if it was just these rhythms. It's actually the way they're sort of melodized. I don't think that's a word, but turned into melodies, I guess, if you want to say it like that. That really makes it stand out, and especially after the instrumental build up the bridge. I think after like the third chorus into these huge doo, 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 that are it's just so amazing to hear, and it sounds really massive. It sort of sounds like an opus to this album. So yeah, that's the title track. And then following that, Disposition is a nice, again, interlude, although this one also can sort of stand on its own as a song because we have some more vocals on it, and the guitar riffs sort of change up. We get a little bit of a solo at the end, in fact, although Tool's solos never really sound exactly like solos. They're very much, because all the instruments are still interacting with each other. Like I've said on my previous reviews, they're very much a jam band. But yeah, the riff on this thing is really nice, and sort of the "watch the weather change" is a nice vocal line, and the whole track feels really subdued. But at the very end, all the guitars sort of get like out of key sounding, very much intentionally, and we get this nice sort of drum falling off where it's like I believe they hit the bass drum, and then you can hear the tapping get faster, like the stick is just like dropping. But after a couple times through that, the next bass hit actually goes into this whole complex rhythm on Disposition, which is this massive, like 11-minute song, I think, which is just fantastic. I especially love the intro to this of like the weird synths all over it that sound like some weird like again like woodwind instrument maybe or something. And sort of how Maynard's voice like oscillates all throughout, and sort of it sounds. It's extremely hard to describe. I can't think of any other vocal delivery that really sounds like it. It's extremely unique on this song. At the same time, it very much fits in with the rest of the album, of course. Yeah. And then after that, we get into Triad, which it feels like a Terraria boss fight song, which is a compliment, of course. It's incredibly good. I love again the weird like woodwind sounding instrument at the very beginning of this track, and the intro is really good. But for the rest of it, we get these epic drum rhythms and bass rhythms, and mostly just like a guitar solo throughout. I can't really call it my favorite because it's pretty simple structurally, but that's not a bad thing. I really enjoy it for what it is what I'll say. And Fate de Oyed is a really nice closer to this album, sort of with all the instruments going like wild, and this like the sound of this machine playing, and the drums just going all over the board, and this guy talking about how the government is hiding these multi-dimensional beings from everyone else for some reason. It doesn't make too much sense, and I think that's very much the point. But yeah, it's a really good closer, and it sort of sums up the themes of this album. Even though like it's not a concept album. It does have a lot of concepts of existentialism and like the human experience in it. So yeah, I think it's a 10 out of 10. Again, no real weak spots, and the highlights are just really really high. Songs like Schism and Parabola, Lateralus, just fantastic. Uh, I just realized I might have been calling Reflection Disposition this entire time, so sorry. Reflection is the 11th song, Disposition is the 10th song. Disposition transitions into Reflection. Yeah. But other than that, I think that's about all I have to say on this album. Let me know what you think about the album in the comments, please. Other than that, thanks for watching.